In D&D, fiend is a category that encompasses plenty of meanies. Devils represent lawful evil, they love deals, corrupting mortals, and business agrees. Demons represent chaotic, they love mayhem, destruction, and not looking both ways when crossing the street. But if lawful and chaotic evil are represented in D&D, there must be a neutral evil fiend out there. Yugoloths are that meanie, and they are severely underrepresented in basically every D&D book ever. What are they? What's their deal? How do they work? We're gonna answer all of these questions and more, and make more Yugoloths so you can actually use them in your D&D games. I'm Antonio D'Amico, this is Pointy, and welcome to a neutral evil episode of D&D with a twist. So when I think of Yugoloths, I think of Yugoloths, Yugolos for clowns, Yugs for short, Yas for shorter, also known as demons. Yes, that's how you say it, but that does sound too close to demons, so I guess Loth it is? Oh, that's too close to Lolth. Well, Yugis it is. Yugi boy! The first thing to understand about these guys is that neutral evil is exemplified by Yugis in that neutral is often the alignment of selfishness. You don't care about a moral code of evil, you don't care about the destruction of a moral code of good, you just care about you, about what you want at any given time.
I'm making copies. Move. I'm
a Yugoloth.
And boy, does this describe Yugis to a T. Yugoloths are greedy, down to it being a defining trait for them. They're often called the mercenaries of the fiends because they will just align themselves with whoever offers them more gold, or whatever it is that they are after. Devils and demons are locked into an unending war of evil, and Yugoloths are also there so they can exploit this so they can make some bank. They purposefully never choose a side in this, but rather go with one or the other to maximize profits at any given time. Like I told you, Yugoloths are fiends with a business degree, hell's version of late-stage capitalism. But they're not just greedy, their whole thing is manipulation. If Yugoloths like something more than being greedy, it's lying. They are consummate manipulators. In order for Yugoloths to get whatever it is they are greeding about, Yugoloths will hatch schemes and plans on plans to get what they want. Plans are big on Yugoloth culture. They love like a 5-year plan or a 5-decade plan, really. A Yugoloth always has about 7 stratagems sitting on top of 4 projects, on top of 9 conspiracies running simultaneously at any given time. And most of these include lying. They are experts on the insight skill and exploit people's weaknesses and use their ability to read people's intentions to manipulate them and get what they want. Devils have shades of this, but Yugoloths wrote the book on this. In summary, how can you tell if a Yugoloth is lying? Their lips are moving. Or mandibles, face, holes. We'll get back to their look. Another defining trait about Yugoloths is their relationship with evil, which might be the most interesting thing about them. Reading up on devils and demons, you sure get the sense that they are evil, but you also get the sense that this is sort of an innate thing to them. They just happen to be evil all the time. Yugoloths, it's not that Yugoloths are not inherently evil, they're fiends. It's rather that Yugoloths are idealists about it. Moralists, even. I've talked about blue and orange morality before, literally in the last video I did, and this is not exactly that, but it has shades of that. It's not that Yugoloths have a completely alien sense of morality to ours, but rather that their sense of morality is ours, but flipped. What is evil to us is good to a Yugoloth, and vice versa. This is not true for other fiends. Yugoloths believe in being evil and see true evil as aspirational, as something to work towards and achieve. They are neutral because they are greedy and mercenary and selfish, yes, but they are also neutral because they see law and chaos as corruptions of pure evil. The best way to explain this is through a joke setup. That's the best thing I came up with. A devil, a demon, and a Yugoloth walk into a bar, and they meet a goody two-shoes paladin that goes to bed on time and eats his vegetables and smites the forces of evil. The devil scoffs and sees the paladin as naive and easy prey to one of their deals. The demon sees the paladin as a target for corruption, but the Yugoloth is disgusted by the paladin, as disgusted as the paladin is by the Yugoloth. They are both Bible thumpers, but the Yugoloth's Bible is like evil and dark and black with red highlights. Their morality is flipped. Finally, the last ingredient of the Yugoloth pie. Oh god, food metaphors again. Someone keep a timer counting how much time it takes me to make one. The last ingredient of the Yugi pie is depression.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's clinical depression.
Manipulating, lying, scheming, eviling, greedy, clinically depressed fiends. Every friend group needs one. Yugoloths come from Hades, the video game, and Hades is a place of bad. It's one of the planes of bad and one of D&D's 3 hells. The 9 hells, lawful evil, where devils live. The abyss, chaos chaotic evil, where my demons lie, and Hades, neutral evil, the better homes and gardens of Yugoloths. Hades has the particularity of stripping everyone that decides to vacation there of all color and emotion and joie de vivre, leaving only ennui and other French words. Just apathy and a general constant malaise. That's another French word. Insert a DMV joke here to appease my American audience. And Yugoloths follow this example. Yugoloths strive to be totally and completely emotionless in like a Jedi way. Yugoloths see emotions as one of the many strings they can pull in their manipulative tactics for those dastardly schemes they so love to run, and therefore see having emotions as a liability for themselves. Not only that, they see it as an obstacle to achieve their version of nirvana, which, as we have established, is being as evil as possible. So they try their hardest to stop feeling. A Yugoloth sees feeling anything as a sign of degeneracy, losing their way to true unfeeling evil. This is all very healthy. Okay, so I've danced around this long enough. Appearance. Listen, my favorite monster is hags. I love devils. I love beholders. I love a manipulative bastard as much as Tumblr does. I should love Yugoloths. They were made for me. I was obsessed with Organization 13 and their whole I cannot feel thing as much as any not actually emo but secretly thought that emo looked kinda cool teen. And yet, I can't love them because Yugoloths look awful. Ew. They look really bad. I don't really leave opinions to the second half of the video, but I gotta say my piece here. I firmly believe that an iconic design is like 60 to 80% of what makes an iconic D&D monster, an iconic anything really, and Yugoloths, who are already fighting an uphill battle on account of having to compete against demons and devils for popularity, are completely and utterly destroyed by having just a very bad, rather non-existent design ethos behind them. I hate that demons and devils have very little to distinguish them from one another visually. But this, the Yugoloth thing, is like 10 times worse for them. Some look like bugs, some look like monsters, some look like aliens, some look like a furry's wet dream. There's no cohesion, no through line, there's nothing. A Yugoloth looks like nothing, and this exemplifies their whole concept in no discernible way. I hate it terribly. Listen, I think Modrons, or Modrons, I still don't know, look awful, and I've been putting off making a video on them for forever because while I love their lore, I just really hate what they look like. They look like them.
I can't look.
But they look about 1,000 times better than Yugis because they have a look. They have a through line. I truly believe that if Yugoloths were visually distinct and cohesive, they would be 10 times more popular. Alright, enough artist ran over. So, since we're talking looks, what better way of seeing those than by looking at some loths? Let's take a look at some examples of these fiendish finance bros and see what D&D is giving us to work with. They're divided in two great groups, with greater Yugoloths being the ones with the mind of a mastermind, and lesser Yugoloths being the ones the greater ones use in their 700 schemes they're running per minute. What makes you one or the other is how much of a huckster you are. The more you watch those videos titled things like dark dating advice for girl bosses with psychopathic tendencies, the higher in the Yugoloth totem pole you are. This means that if you are good enough at being a boss babe with a personality disorder, you can ascend the hierarchy too. The way this happens is, of all things, an exam? I love this. A Yugoloth with delusions of grandeur submits a request to their superiors, and they literally do like a performance review to see if they have been good enough at being bad to ascend. This whole feudal pseudo-caste system to ascend thing they have going on feels way too lawful for the embodiment of neutral evil to me. Am I the only one here? Like, it would make much more sense for these guys to have basically no rigid society at all, since they are like the mercs of fiends. Maybe they just devolve into economic liberalism's final boss, since their thing is greed. At least the performance improvement plan thing would kind of make sense then, if their society is basically run like a company. But no, lords and whatever, sure. Why would we want them to be different from the other two? Anyway, I'm only gonna do the greatest hits of Yugi land, and there are not that many, so let's get to it. I'm picking Battleloths as our lesser Yugi representative, partly because they're also at least Yugoloth, and partly because I think they are the coolest. Least Yugoloths are even lesser than lesser Yugoloths. Most of them are literally made by other Yugoloths to, you guessed it, assist in whatever scheme they have going on. The thing about Battleloths is that their purpose is super simple. They are literally living weapons. They have a weapon form where they look like a weapon and a humanoid form where they look like a humanoid. I am very smart. The humanoid form kind of tells you what weapon they are on account of them having that weapon for a face most of the time. There's barely any art of these guys, which makes this section really fun to edit, but the concept is so cool. Mercenary swords, mercenary axes, mercenary arrows. Give your players a flail that demands you pay it at the end of the day. Imagine fighting a Yugoloth with the insufferable sword loth your DM gave you, and that Yugoloth turning around and offering your own sword more money if they turn against you. That's fun, and also mean, but fun. I feel like people don't know about these guys since they come from Dragon Magazine and have not seen the light of day ever since. It's a fun concept. I love living weapons. I should do a video on those. Next up, the Yugoloth. Yugoloths are all about secret plans and total control of all humanity and yada yada yada. You get it. So what is this one's way of going about their Saturday morning cartoon plans for world domination? Well, dice. Some might believe the Yugoloth are the dice goblins' greatest enemy, when in reality, they are their greatest assets. They love luck and believe in fate above all, so they seek to coalesce luck into one single symbol. And since this is D&D, of course that symbol is dice, which is why the Yugoloth looks like that. Their whole thing is taking all dice, D4s to D20s, and fuse them into one die to rule them all. Wait, no, I have my notes wrong. That's not the Yugoloth. That's the one dice. One single die that can roll a D4, a D6, a D20, any D&D die in one die. How? Well, they sent it to me, so let me show you. Human familiar demonstration.
The one die to rule them all. Now available for familiars and their Eldritch, Divine, or Fey patrons.
But for real, look, you select the dice you want to roll, you select the theme of the animations, that's right, that's the level of customizability this thing offers, and you have a full set of dice in one die. My favorite thing is the animations and the customizability, because that's why I buy dice sets. They have class themes, they have general themes, the LED looks so good and so crisp. It feels just like, I don't know, such an insane die to have, like in a good way, and like actually useful. Like if you have to move to play, if you have to go to your buddy's house to play D&D, or at a con, or, hear me out, for a very important role, kind of like what Dimension 20 does. Like imagine busting this out for your last death save, or for a particularly important persuasion check. Real talk, I'm so glad they sent this to me because the quality is also top notch. It feels very weighty, nice to roll, it's solid. When I heard about it, I initially thought I would be scared of rolling it, and having it in my familiar's hand, I'm no longer scared. I'm chucking this baby down the stairs. Please don't chuck babies, or this die, down the stairs. So, if the one die to rule them all sounds interesting to you, the campaign for it is live right now to get it. Like you can get it right now, and they have tons of deals to get it if you pledge for the campaign. So go take a look if you want. First link in the description. And now that we have learned about the dice, one dice, let's talk about other Yugoloths. Okay, the other two examples I picked are greater because they are the ones that people know. Next up, Arcanoloths. Arcanoloths are sort of the evil vizier of the monster manual. Their thing is bookkeeping, but make it evil. They specialize in the darkest of the evil arts, accounting. Arcanoloths keep Yugoloth society running through drafting contracts, reading fine print, and keeping a log of what everyone has paid anyone in the 1,000 mercenary contracts any Yugoloth, that is, anyone, is currently embroiled in. They're even the ones that negotiate those contracts and deal with whoever wants to contract a Yugoloth. But these are not just the lawyer Yugoloth of calculus. Nay. They're also the Yugoloth of arcane magic. You might have been ever so subtly tipped off by their name. Arcanoloths are scribes, which means that they love to both collect and make spell scrolls and have collections of spells at their disposal. This should already ping as a grade A adventure hook material in your head, but moving on. I think that one of the reasons that these guys got popular, well, as popular as Yugoloths get, is because they are a great example of the romantic ideal of a Yugoloth. They are your Yugoloth's Yugoloth. They love to scheme, they are greedy, they are liars, they are manipulators, and they will use every underhanded tactic and suck up to anyone and everyone to reach their goals. They're like that guy from Mulan, but like if he was a furry. I honestly think that's the second reason they got popular. Arcanoloths are they're just a furry, and I might be only tangentially familiar with furry culture, but boy do furries love a fox. I use recently very liberally, everything in my life happened the other day. We got to see an Arcanoloth in a major role in the Planescape set. Shemeshka. Shikata. Comment below if you know how to say Shakasta. She is fun, she is vain, she loves a scheme, she has a casino, and boy, did she get a redesign in 5e to appeal a certain part of the fanbase. Anyway, now that we have appeased the furry gods, let's switch wildly in the completely opposite direction. Ultraloths are the highest in the ranking of the greater Yugoloths, and if Arcanoloths embody the deceptive and manipulative aspect of Yugoloths, Ultraloths are the embodiment of their whole love of plans, schemes, and being one step ahead of everyone. It's Keikaku on Keikaku on Keikaku forever with these guys. Ultraloths just cannot be outsmarted. If you have outsmarted them, that's exactly what the Ultraloth wanted you to think. They're operating on so many layers of scheming that it's basically impossible to know in what step of whatever they are planning they could possibly be on. To me, both Arcanoloth and Ultraloths make for great BBEGs, or at the very least mid-campaign bad guys, because they offer two very different flavors of the same concept. And Arcanoloth is a social threat. They'll use social graces and manipulation to get what they want. They're a very social villain. And Ultraloth, on the other hand, is what you want if you want your bad guy to feel just impossibly smart. If you're going for BBC Sherlock Moriarty for your villain, you want an Ultraloth. Also, how is that 2025 Tumblr experience going for you? You can leave that site whenever you want, right? And Mr. Dungeon and Mr. Dragon came to me and said, we want to save Yugoloth from irrelevance. Honestly, I would ask for a visual redesign of every single one first, but after we do that, I would drop hints of a greater conspiracy through not just one book, but several. Signs of something greater going on behind the scenes. Small things. A symbol players can find here, a node with that same symbol on another book, referencing some organization there, all tangentially connected to whatever conflict is happening in that book, but just tangentially. I would not explain what is going on in any of these books, not even to the DM's reading. And then, when the time is right, I would reveal that an Ultraloth was behind all of those things being hinted all along. Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, it wouldn't come close to Shemeshka's popularity because she looks like that, and Ultraloths look like someone gave human growth hormone to the Roswell aliens, but you know, we can dream. But there are many others. We got All Dogs Are Good Dogs, like 18 bugs no one cares about, and Stinky.
Stinky.
Okay, we've looked at Yugoloths and what they're about, we've looked at some examples, we know what's up. So now that the stage is set, what if we give Yugoloths a new twist?
I'm sorry. This will not be a reoccurring thing, unless it will be. And then I'm sorry I lied.
So to be honest here, the reason these guys are not popping is that Yugoloths were an afterthought. I have neither proof nor doubts that D&D had this idea for lawful and chaotic evil, devils and demons, forever blood war, choose your poison, which evil is better, or rather, which evil is less worse, that whole thing. And then, the fact that alignment has a neutral option reared its ugly head again, and they were forced to come up with Yugoloths. And now we're here. This happens in D&D sometimes, not always related to alignment, but decently often related to alignment, when you can tell that a thing was made not because there was an idea for it, but because a set needed to be completed. The Genasi, and especially the Para Genasi, are 100% this. And while that sometimes leads to good results, gemstone dragons were generally well received by dragon lovers, and those are clearly the neutral answer to the question, if metallic is good and chromatic is evil, what is neutral? But sometimes it very clearly doesn't work. Why do Yugoloths have no visual identity, even less than devils and demons? Why do Yugoloths work in a caste system when they're supposed to be the embodiment of neutrality, and those are pretty much always associated with law in D&D? Why are Yugoloths so connected with deals when that was always a devil thing? Devils being the poster boys for Faustian deals in D&D. Why are there like 4 of them in the monster manual compared to the dozens of devils and demons? Because they were an afterthought. But here's a twist. Okay, well, not the twist is coming later, but a twist. I love Yugoloths. In theory. I've said this before, just a couple of 100 times, but my favorite monster in all of D&D is hags. But I also like vampires, I like liches, I like beholders, I like an intelligent monster. I like a liar, I like a schemer, I like a planner. Big on type A monsters here. My favorite flavor of intelligent is emotionally intelligent. I love a manipulator, a charismatic monster that plays with people's feelings and influences them to suit their schemes. Those, to me, are the most fun bad guys to run. And Yugoloths are basically an entire fiendish class of that. They were made for me, they're my whole. So, I can't redo Yugoloths as a whole, that's a lot of work, and look how long this video is already, but I can take what makes Yugoloths so appealing to the people that love them, aka me, and turbocharge those qualities to make at least the one I make here feel more distinct than their fiendish cousins. As I said, the deals thing feels too devil for me, and the Ultraloth has that planning thing. What if we zero in on lies as a theme? Sure, the Yugoloth touches on it, but they also have like 10 other things going on with like arcana and accounting. What if we zero in on lying, the deceit, the emotional manipulation, all for the most selfish, greedy goals? To me, that's the essence of Yugoloths, and also what distinguishes them from devils and demons. Shamoloths are greater Yugoloths, and as such, have had to demonstrate to those that once were their superiors that they were ready to ascend past their fiendish caste. The only way to reach the level of Shamoloth is by deceiving those that are meant to examine you so thoroughly you become the lie you told them. Shamoloths deal in deception more than any other Yugoloth. To a Shamoloth, deception is not just an art, it's the North Star through which they guide their entire existence. Like any of their brethren, they seek to achieve perfect evil, and a Shamoloth's path to perfection is made of lies. They delight and specialize in the art of the mistruth, the double meaning, the poisonous rhetoric of the lie to such an extent that lying itself is a form of magic to them, a magic so powerful that it breaks reality itself. Their power is simple, yet terrifying. If a Shamoloth convinces a creature of a lie, then that lie becomes the truth to that creature. Through deceit, a Shamoloth wages war on truth. They begin by concealing truth, then they erode it, and eventually they eradicate it, replacing what was once true with a Shamoloth's own lie. They were not a greater Yugoloth until they lied enough to become one. They weren't a high priest, a general, a king, a lord, until they lied enough to become one. What's worse, a Shamoloth exhibits the greed present in all Yugoloths and is therefore compelled to make their lies not just poisonous, but contagious. The more it spreads, the more it infects, the more truth weakens, and the more this truth is replaced with their lie. Left unchecked, a Shamoloth will tear apart the very tenets that hold entire societies, replacing them instead with whatever is convenient for the Shamoloth, until no one is there to distinguish what was once truth from what now is lie. Reality manipulation magic through lies? What if this thing could convince you that it had more AC, armor class, not aircon, or a resistance it doesn't have, a proficiency in a saving throw? What if it could convince you it's dealing more damage than it is? What if it flipped those subclass bard abilities that those flavor-centric subclasses get, and the more you talk to it, the weaker you became? What if they had a really sick weak point that forced you to think outside of the box combat-wise, and like engage with a system that is not meant for combat? I love that kind of monster, the one that asks you to look past the basic combat tools. Those are always way harder to design, so good luck with that. I'm just giving you the idea here. Or am I? That's right, that was a lie. The stat block for the Shamoloth is in the description for 10,000 billion trillions of money. Ha! That was a lie again. It's just free. But if you're down for free, you might be down for my Cleric glitch. It's also free, and it also relies on convincing people of stuff. Stuff like it being a god. And if this video has put you in more of a fiendish mood, why not check out my video on demons? It comes with a demon that attacks society itself. Alright, don't believe a single body language expert on the internet. Mwah.